Alabama gets ready to take on Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and they got some reinforcements, guys that can't play in the game in Pasadena. But the future of the program, part of the signing class that hasn't even signed yet, but because of NCAA rules, they're helping out Alabama. It becomes official on signing day. We're going to talk about the 11 players that are helping the Crimson Tide and this recruiting class, which right now sits at number 3. And who knows? The magic of signing day has been something that Saban's been amazing at really figuring out a way to add a little bit of depth to the class. But let's talk about those 11 guys, Alabama and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. You're at the tailgate party that you want to be at. Here's the invitation, the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. What do you say, everybody? With Brett Elmore, I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Brett, finally, people get to see what you look like. They've heard your voice for a while. You guys know him from Jasper, from his radio station, WJLX, and you know him from our shows as well. All right, Brett, let's talk about this Alabama recruiting class, right? It's number 3 in some publications. It's number 4 in others. But you're talking about some major talent, and 11 of those guys get the opportunity and have already taken it. They're practicing with Alabama.
Yeah, some of these NCAA rules, they do actually work in your favor sometimes, like this one. Getting some of these young guys, get them to Pasadena to work out in this kind of environment. What an exciting environment to do that in, but also to get that extra experience when it comes to the bowl games. Of course, we talk about that a lot, getting that extra experience, and that's going to be something for this recruiting class. Who do you think may benefit more from this, those 11 guys? Some of the early guys that have signed that did make the trip. We've got several big names still out there that may push Alabama to number 1, but some of the guys that did make the trip, who kind of stands out to you?
Well, it all starts with Alabama's Julian Sayin, or at least Carlsbad, California's 5-star quarterback, Sayin, who is practicing right now. And a lot of us feel like that the 6'1", 190 slinger is the future of Alabama's program. On3 says he's the number 1 quarterback. 24/7 Sports has him rated number 3. But this guy's got it all, man. He can throw the ball. He's smart. He had 28 touchdowns, just 1 interception for Carlsbad High this past season, his senior year. He was the MVP of the 2023 Elite 11 Finals. A lot of people say that this guy kind of reminds them of a similar type of quarterback as Bryce Young from California, has that California cool type style with him, can throw the ball. He's got the football IQ, and he's there practicing with the Crimson Tide as they get ready for Michigan. So this is experience that's really going to help him.
So it will help him. And, of course, our quarterback's coming back next year. He's already said that on the next round. Aside from the quarterback position, maybe another name or two that comes to mind maybe?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you want guys that are going to make an impact, and Caleb Odom is a guy that I think is going to make an impact. I mean, he's kind of another one of those great receivers that Alabama seems to go out and find, guys that are athletic, that can make plays. Like they have now in Amari Niblack, or they've had with O.J. Howard or Irv Smith in the past. I mean, you're talking about a guy that can catch, that can block a little bit. He's the 3rd-rated tight end in the 2024 class, according to 24/7 Sports. On3 says he's the number 2 guy. So, I mean, both of the major recruiting sites, the 2 that are the most respected, both think that this guy's at the height of his position. And what I love about him is he's got that Antonio Gates type of vibe, right? Do you remember Antonio Gates, the great tight end who used to catch all the passes in fantasy football as a Charger? He was
one
a
of my
basketball guy.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite positions on the field. Actually, is when you have this big, strong tight end that can number one run you over if he needs to, and number two catch the football. That's always been one of my favorite positions. But yeah, so he reminds him a little bit of him.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the fact that he's a basketball player in that tight end spot and he can go up and get it is another guy to keep an eye on. And look, we had the scare where it looked like Pritchett was going to leave and then he came back. You can't lose your offensive linemen. Interior guys are so important. And Casey Poe is another guy to keep an eye on, Brett. You're talking about one of the top offensive linemen in the country. On3 says he's the number one interior guy in the class. 24/7 says he's number 4. This guy's out of Lindell, Texas. Fundamentally a great offensive lineman. And when we talked to our friend Mike Johnson, who was a 2-time All-American at Alabama on that offensive line, I love it when he breaks these type of guys down. Offensive linemen, they may be big, Brett, but they're also smart. The good ones are, right? They're like the scholars on the team. And so a lot of people feel like Poe may be one of those guys coming to Alabama, but he's out there practicing.
They may be known as the big uglies, but they're really not. They're very smart. And we were talking about it earlier in the season too, about the offensive line and their struggles earlier in the season. And you're right. It's going to be nice to keep, as much as we can together, but with some new blood like this coming in, a highly touted guard like that, getting, once again, the practice experience, getting to hang out with the team early as an early enrollee is huge for this program. And another reason, like I say, Saban has been so busy, Coach Saban, over the past couple of weeks trying to firm up this class. And it seems like this guy has not left the road. Of course, they've been in practice. They're practicing for the big game coming up, but he has really been hitting the pavement hard. And, some of these guys probably won't sign until, later on. They're not firm yet. But Saban has another excellent opportunity to land another number one class.
Yeah, well, you just wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to play for Nick Saban in Alabama. And just talking about the class right now, which will become official. And remember, you still got signing day. Those guys are locked in. They're already practicing. But we've seen it over the years. Anything can happen when on National Signing Day. But right now, the class includes a quarterback. We talked about him saying 5 receivers, 3 offensive linemen, 3 D linemen, 3 linebackers, 3 defensive backs, and a special teams player. You're talking about California having 3 guys, Florida with 2, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Texas with 1. And then, of course, 10 from the state of Alabama. And I love having guys from Alabama because as a grad, as someone that loves beating Auburn, when you get away from having those guys who are from Alabama on your team, sometimes you lose the meaning of the Iron Bowl. I like to have guys that know that meaning.
Absolutely. You got to recruit at home first, and then you got to get all your players here locally and then get everybody else too. And Saban is a master of doing that. And it was like, back in the day, you remember everyone was saying, where did Phillip Rivers go? NC State, really?
Yeah.
I mean, who screwed the pooch on this? You're not getting that anymore, especially in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, cover the state really well, and you see the guys there in practice earlier. Looks like they're getting ready for a little action at the Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah, they are. A couple guys I wanted to mention, too. It's crazy to think that Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. is a guy that's being recruited. I actually broadcasted one of his games when he was playing at Gadsden City High School against County High back when I was their play-by-play broadcaster. And now and then he goes to Alabama, and how good he was, and went to the NFL. And here's his son playing, which is so crazy.
I know, yeah, I know. Even in my job and on the high school level, doing high school football here, I'm calling games of these kids that either I grew up with their parents or their parents played football, and I was covering the ball games then. We're getting older, Mick, but hey, it's good to have Dre on the right side of the field and wearing the crimson too. That's going to be awesome.
Well, do you have any questions that you want to ask about some of these guys?
You know, not really. I mean, I think we covered the bases on everyone, recruiting wise, and the early signees. The most important position you think, did we go over that? The most important position you think that needs to be filled that may be in this initial 11 that's going to be in Pasadena?
Yeah, look, I think that the future of this class is going to come down to the success of the wide receivers, and think about where Alabama was. Saban got to the Crimson Tide, and then all of a sudden they get Julio Jones, and then that turns into Amari Cooper, and that turns into Calvin Ridley, and a lot of other good ones in there as well. And then that turns into Waddle, Ruggs, Smitty, and Judy, and then that turns into Mechie and Williams, and then and now you're seeing guys kind of emerge. Isaiah Bond, maybe the next guy that kind of fits that mold. But Ryan Williams, a 5-star out of Saraland High School down in my neck of the woods, down here on the golf side of things, changed his status from he was supposed to be part of not this year, but next year's class, 2025. He changed it so that he is coming to college 2024. He can't do the early signing period because he just reclassified. I mean, it just happened. He had a press conference about it last week.
I saw that.
But in February, he'll be able to sign. Now, he's got family members that are Auburn fans. He was at the unofficial visit at Auburn to watch a basketball game. The crowd's chanting his name. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's gonna spur Nick Saban in Alabama. I still think that he's gonna live up to that commitment. But it's worth watching. I mean, there's a lot of money that's involved in these transactions now. We've talked about it, on this channel a lot. Things have changed as far as, the rules
NIL
of recruiting and NIL. Yeah. But he's a 5-star prospect. He would be the number 1 player in the class, higher than Julian Sayin, which tells you something.
Yeah.
And he went to the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, MVP, a couple TDs and just under 100 yards receiving. This guy's bad, and we need him. And I mean bad as in really good.
Yeah. I saw the All-Star game the other night. I think Alabama had won by a touchdown or so, but he showed out, and maybe he'll land in Tuscaloosa, like you mentioned.
Yeah, well, he's committed, and he seems to be, staying committed, although he is taking other visits. We'll see what happens. But Nick Saban seems to do a fantastic job of figuring out how to get these guys to Tuscaloosa.
He'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be covering it here on the channel. I want to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with us. Our channel is presented by our friends at Pearl River Resort. Grab your friends up, Brett, and take them over to Philadelphia, Mississippi, the Timeout Sports Lounge, which is at Golden Moon Casino. It's a place that I've been a lot, and maybe next time I go, you'll have to come with me. But they got all the great.
They can't handle me, Mick. They can't handle me.
You'd be surprised. They've got they've got some awesome restaurants in there. All the table games and slots, and then the sports lounge is awesome, man. You get to go in there and you can bet college football. You can bet NFL football with the college football playoff. I know a lot of you guys are going to want to dip into that. You got the NHL, the NBA, anything going on in sports, they have it. They've got, a host of big screen TVs that you can watch. They've got
supposed to go.
Yeah. Well, look, they've got the just everything that you can think of to make it convenient. And it's a lot of fun. So check it out for yourself. Plus Dancing Rabbit, they're amazing golf course, the Augusta you can play, and the entire scene. All right, Brett, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Mick.
Well done.